Hello, everybody. This is Uwe from the band Accept. After, 8 months of touring, I'm back in my studio working here on some productions. I want to introduce you to my new amp, the Lulis signature amp. And thank you, Dan, for doing this for me. Really appreciate that and hope to see you again.
Absolutely my pleasure, my friend, and I look forward to hanging out with you again real soon. Well, it's Lulis time. Why don't you join me? Hey there, I'm Dan, the self-proclaimed lonely rocker. Thank you so much for joining me today. So yes, I am excited. The Tube Workshop Lulis is here. Really excited about this. Mario from Tube Workshop built this one for me, and I have the pictures to prove it. I'll show you some of those a little bit later. But yes, in collaboration with Uwe Lulis from Accept, they've created this beast of an amplifier that's built off a JCM800 platform, but it's got a lot more than that. So I want to dive right into some tones, but I want to get a couple niceties out of the way. You can see a bunch of Schecters here. I'm actually in the process of evaluating. I've got 3 extra ones here. This Solo 2 Custom is mine, but these other 3 are here on evaluation because one of these is going to replace my C1 SLS Elite, which is now gone bye-bye, but the Canadian distributor for Schecter was very gracious and hooked me up with all these guitars. We're going to feature these today. Because I have a lot of guitar changes, I wanted to share this really cool item here. This is a strap locks from Rocklock. Now, one thing I hate doing is modifying guitars unnecessarily, but these things hook up to your strap, and there's no modification done to the guitar. I've actually tested this on a bunch of guitars here in the studio, and it pretty much fits on everything. So all you have to do is with a couple of clicks, you can take it off one guitar and pop it onto the other. So really super simple. I'm gonna put a link in the description if you want to check out these guys. They're really cheap actually, and a really handy little thing. So strap locks from Rocklock. Anyways, we're gonna dive into this amplifier. You're gonna hear it through this angle cabinet. We're gonna record some of it direct. I'm gonna break it all down. So let's dive into the first track.
This baby is my sound. It's based on a JCM800, and we have this little opportunity to switch to JTM mode, which is nice. And we focus on the mid-range because, I love these golden mid-range sounds on the guitar. And yeah, all I can say is, my sound. Check it out. You will hear it when Dan is doing all the tests and stuff. And so have fun with it. And I hope to see you on tour. And I wish you a really good 2025, successful and health. And hope to see you there on tour somewhere on the globe. All right. Bye-bye.
Buddy, you know I am going to be there next time you guys are in town. I had the pleasure of seeing Accept live when they were in Toronto. We were Uwe's guests.
Down to the dungeons.
Down to the dungeons.
Welcome to our city. And, look forward to checking you out.
Nice to meet you again. Yeah. And let's, party the shit out of here. Yeah?
And just had an amazing time. And they're such a great live band. Anyway, anyways, talk about the amplifier. Now, I've got it set here to Uwe's personal settings here. Now, the thing about settings, whether we're talking presets in a plugin or settings on an amplifier, this is very personal to him. Now, he's recording this amp in his studio, so there's going to be environmental effects, depending on the microphone configurations he's using. As I said, the room, the speakers, he's using a different cabinet. I believe he's got a Tube Workshop cabinet, which has V30s and creambacks in an X pattern. I've got this glorious angle 4x12 double XL here. It's all V30s in here. So different speakers, different configurations, different blends of microphones are all going to have an effect on the sound. But for fun, I actually started with his settings as he shared them with me, and then I tweaked it a little bit for the track that I recorded. And I always recommend that you do that too. Don't rely on checking out someone's settings and hope it's going to give you what you hope it will give you, because it might not. So you have to be prepared to tweak it and use that tool that comes built into your head, because that's ultimately where you're going to find those golden tones. And this amp is definitely loaded with those golden tones. He mentioned the mid-range, and I think that's a kind of a lost art. I think it's some modern metal where people are scooping out the mid-range. I think you just lose the definition of the guitar. I'm always personally love cranking those mids. So when I heard about that in this amplifier, it's certainly something that shone for me. Now, this amp certainly is a bit of an angry beast for sure. And I took some time with it to figure out the nuances. Like I said, this amp can be really, really aggressive, but there are ways to tame it as well. Now, the built-in JTM mode, as Uwe mentioned, basically gives you a whole different amplifier. Now, you could look at it as a different channel, but it's not really a pure channel, because there's actually a volume loss from JCM to the JTM mode. The output is different. It really is two different amplifiers in one. Now, you have the ability to adjust the overdrive. Now, that's something I did with the leads, those harmonized leads. I actually used the JTM mode, but then I added some bite with the built-in overdrive. It just gave me a whole different character, something different to add from the rhythm section. Now, the JCM mode can be super angry and ballsy, and as you heard in that track, and just a lot of variety here. And something I'll explore later in the video is that we can get some beautiful crystal clean sounds with the JTM mode, but then we can add a little grit to that as well. So very, very versatile in that regard. Anyways, I want to share some of the tones that you heard in that track. We're going to break it down so you can hear it in isolation. As I said, I'm recording some of the tracks here with this Angle 4x12 double XL. I've got two Sennheiser microphones on the bottom right speaker. We've got the MD421 Compact and the E906. So I'm going to show you the blend of those two, and then you're going to hear each one individually. I've got a stereo pair of MKH 8020s in the back of the room. So if you want to get a sense of what it feels like in the room, just shake your device when you're listening to it, and that'll get you closer to what it feels like here in the room. So let's check it out. All right, let's get into more tones. This time I'm going with something a little bit more classic rock. In the last track, we got to see and hear these three Schecters here, but this time I'm going to be introducing the Schecter Sun Valley Super Shredder Exotic. This is handling the main rhythm tones, and I bring back the Solo 2 Custom for the lead. Now, the main rhythm was recorded through the Angle cabinet here with the same microphone configuration, and the lead was recorded direct through the Red 7 Amp Central Evo. Let's get into it. Oh man, that sounded amazing. And the secret really is the mid-range on this amplifier. I played with that a lot. That really sort of pushed that track up in the mix, gave it the definition that it needs. Now that's a really big sound. Now I double track everything. That's just a standard issue thing that I do here in the studio when I'm recording, but man, it sounds really, really big. Now that song, the guitar was in drop D tuning, so we were down a little bit, but kind of blues-based rock riffs, but it sounded really, really huge. And again, the mid-range on this amplifier really is the difference, because finding a placement for an amplifier like this, or that, you know, those guitar tones in a mix, you know, you got to get that right blend of EQ, and that mid-range is the secret to getting that sort of that fullness and presence in there. You know, you add too much top end, it'll become a little bit too brittle. If you try and bring up the bottom end, it's just going to get muddy and kind of collide with things down low, like the bass guitar and the kick drum. So really the secret is that mid-range to get those guitar tracks sitting nicely in the mix. And that's how I'm working here, because I do reamp everything. So I record my guitars direct, and then I can sit here and play with the amplifier and turn the dials until I get the sound just right, because I want you to hear what this amplifier is doing. And I found every single time with the mid EQ setting here and just getting just right so it sits perfectly in the mix. Absolutely awesome. All right, well, there's another dimension to this amplifier, and clean sounds. Clean sounds are important to me. I want you to get a little taste of cleans. Now the JTM mode offers up really beautiful cleans. I'm going to bring back the Super Shredder so we can hear some of those sweet clean tones. To me, I think listening to the cleans on this amplifier really reveal a character that this amplifier has. It's not super pristine, almost sterile sounding. There's still a lot of character in the cleans, and that's really, really important to me. It's still a tone, you know what I mean? It's not like we're turning everything off and we're just giving like a bare bones clean tone. You can dial in a little more. I'll use that word character again, whether you want a little grit or something in there, whether we use the overdrive setting, we push the gain just a little bit, but it's a really, really versatile clean channel. It just really adds to the overall versatility that this amp provides. And as a studio amplifier, because that is my experience, there's just so many different tones that I can get from this amplifier. It's going to cover a lot of ground. I mean, if you are looking to add an amplifier to your collection, certainly this is going to offer a lot of uniqueness in that case. If it's an amplifier that's early in your amp gathering crusade, this is definitely a good amp to consider because of all of the different features that it has. Like I said, versatility is great to have in an amplifier. I know in this age of modeling where you can have a device that has thousands and thousands of different options, you can get lost in the options, but something like this is going to offer you true character, and overall, it's just a great sounding amplifier. All right, well, before I check out on this video, I want to get into the weeds of the details about this amplifier. For those of you who like all of the specifications, let's dive into those. The Tube Workshop Lulis, handcrafted in Germany, is a 50-watt all-tube amp inspired by the Lulis sound, which is a Boss OD1 into a JCM800. It has two EL34 power tubes, three 12AX7s driving the dual preamp modes, more on that in a minute, and one GZ34 rectifier tube. Technically, this is a one-channel amp, but with two distinct preamp modes, it's like two amps in one. There is a distinct output level difference between the two modes, but this can be compensated for with the dual master outputs. The built-in overdrive is engaged by pulling the switch or via the included foot switch. In the preamp section, you have the mode switch, preamp gain, a bright switch, and a deep switch. Next, you have a 3-band EQ with bass, that rich golden mid-range, and treble. In the master section, you have a presence knob and 2 master volumes accessible via the foot switch. A really cool feature of this amp is the built-in AB box. You can connect the amp B out to another amp and switch between the two with the foot switch. You could also use this output to feed your rack tuner or simply use it to mute the amp. Great for guitar changes. There is a high-quality effects loop with true bypass that is guaranteed not to suck your tone. 2 speaker outputs switchable to 4, 8, and 16 ohms, and the foot switch connectors, which are standard 1/4-inch jacks. Very handy because you can use the provided foot switch or individually connect any foot switch to the specific feature you want to control. And there's a voltage switch so you can switch the voltage to match the region you are in. And I have to mention the lights. I'm all about aesthetics, and this is such a simple yet cool feature. The built-in light strip can be connected to your device via Bluetooth, and you can use the app to change the color or pattern, and you can even set it to respond to sound, creating your own light show inside of your amp. Well, there you have a look at the Tube Workshop Lulis. I absolutely love this amplifier. Man, this thing screams. But you've heard me talk about this on the channel. I love amplifiers that are versatile, that just offer so much. And this amplifier offers more than the amp that it was based on by far. You've got 2 distinct modes. You got that beautiful clean channel, but like I said, this amplifier just screams. So even in a live setting, just gives you different options in terms of what you want to play. But for a studio, for sure, this amp just offers so much. So I'm really excited and thrilled that it's here. So I really want to thank Mario from Tube Workshop and Uwe as well. They've become friends of mine, and like I said, big fans of what they do. If you definitely check out Tube Workshop. I'm going to put a link in the description. We need to support our boutique builders. Those guys, trust me, people think that they're getting wildly rich because they charge so much for amplifiers, but these are hand-built, crafted amplifiers. It takes a lot of time and patience to build something this beautiful. And yeah, you know what? It's not an easy business, and I really admire what they do. So definitely check them out. A link is in the description. And if you have any thoughts, any questions at all, we'd love to hear from you. That's what the comment section is for. And if you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. But while you're down there, I did an interview with Mario and Uwe. I'm going to pop that right here if you want to check it out. And remember, you don't need a band to rock and roll. I'll catch you in the next one.